what I wanted to do was actually start by doing an exercise. So I want you to be ready, and I'm going to say a word, and you're going to think about the first thing that comes to your mind when I say this word, okay? So what's your knee-jerk reaction? What do you think? So the word is blue, the color blue.
Sky.
Sky.
Sorry?
Sky.
Sky. Ilana?
Also sky.
Sky, Mom? Sky? I can't hear you. Why can't I hear? No.
That's a typical Florida statement, blue sky.
Why did I lose my mother now? I can't hear her.
Lost me.
Oh, no, there you go. You also said sky, right? What?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now I want you to think about the next word that comes into your mind when I say the next word. And the word is sky.
Sky?
Sky. The word you all said. Sky.
Oh.
What do you
Clouds.
think?
Clouds.
Ilana?
Cloud.
Cloud.
Cloud. Okay. And now I'm going to say another word. Clouds.
Rain.
White.
White.
I'm thinking of
Rain.
cirrus.
Sorry?
Cirrus clouds.
Cirrus clouds. Fine.
Well, it actually indicates rain.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and one more time, if you don't mind. So, Mom, I want you to think about the word white. Abraham, I want you to think about rain. And Ilana, I want you to think about cirrus clouds. What's the next word that comes to mind?
Hill.
Rain.
Right, okay. Rain, hill, and Mom, where are you?
Pride.
Who?
Pride.
Pride?
Yes. In a white.
Oh, bride in white. Okay, fine. So look at that. We landed up just after 4 times at a bride, a hill, and rain. Even though we started from the exact same word. So what do we see from that? Is that our minds work in a way of association. We associate one thing with the other. And this is called in Hebrew, bina. Bina is the word, comes from the same root, I think, livnot, to build. And it means to be able to associate one thing with another, and you build an idea that way, right? The Rambam, Maimonides, says we cannot create ex nihilo, meaning we can't create something out of nothing. What we do is we combine things. The creativity of man is to be able to combine things in ways that they haven't been combined before. You can think, his example is, you can think about a camel, and you can think about wings, a bird, and you could imagine a camel with wings. That would be an Arabian Pegasus. But you can't really imagine something. You can't create something out of nothing. Our creativity is association and putting things, combining things, or maybe separating things into component parts. So that's the way our brain, our minds are wired. And it's really, sometimes it's very fast. We can get from one thing, we could do that exercise, quickly. And you would get to, we would get very far away from where we started. after a few associations. And if you just think about the possibilities of all the associations we could make, you know, it's really endless. You know, I put on Starry Nights, Van Gogh's picture on my background. And, you know, if we all look at it, what does it say to each one of us? What association does it make to us? Go on, let's do that as a final exercise. I'll move out the way. Okay. I think I can sometimes move out the way. Okay, look at the picture.
That's supposed to be a Starry Night.
Yeah, it's the Van Gogh picture. It's a very famous painting, right? This is Van Gogh's painting.
It's not the whole painting.
It's not? It's missing some? Okay, sorry. Well, we'll just look at what we have.
Sorry to upset the apple cart.
Well, what does it say to you? What do you get from this painting? Anyone?
Well, for
Movement,
me,
energy.
Interesting.
mine was creation.
Was?
Creation.
Creation. Wow. Okay. Mom, what would you say?
The water.
Water. And I was focusing on the waves, the clouds. You know, he saw them in terms of a wave. Okay, so why? You know, let's ask the question: why did God make us this way? Why did God make us that we can associate one thing with another, or another? Put it another way around. This is a godly power that we have to make these associations, Bina. And the reason is because there's a unity to this world. There's a unity to the world. Everything is connected. Everything was contained in the act of creation, of Bereshit. And it comes from one God. So there's a real unity in this world. And it's our ability to associate one thing with another is really our ability to recognize the unity in the world, how things work together, how everything is connected, how really at the end of the day, there's a unit, there's only one creation that we are realizing. Okay, now this power could be used, obviously, for good and for bad. Let's study a bit of the Gemara together. So let's not do macroeconomics. Let's go here. Okay, so says the Gemara, and this is Avodah Zarah 20a, says the Gemara. Okay, we'll start from the verse. V'nishmata mikol davara. You should guard yourself, says the Torah. You should guard yourself from everything evil. From here, this teaches that a person, talking to a man, should not gaze upon a beautiful woman, even if she is unmarried, and a person should not gaze upon a married woman, even if she's ugly. V'lo big day tseva shal isha. A person, a man, obviously a man, should not gaze upon colored garments of a woman. And then also animals having intercourse, etc. Now, the Talmud then says like this, that which a person may not gaze at colored garments of a woman, Rabbi Yehuda says, that Shmuel says, this is the halacha even if they are spread on a wall, not only when they are being worn. Rav Papa says, and the prohibition applies only when one knows their owner. Okay, and that's what it says. So, says the Talmud, you know, let's recognize this power. When a man, I think it is different for men and women. I don't know how different, but there's a desire in man for sexual activity, and even looking at a colored dress, a colored garment on the walls, on the drying rack, one will come to associate, and in one's mind, you'll land up in the wrong place or the wrong bedroom. Fine. So that's an example of using this power of association badly, and it's actually cautioning us about what we look at, because there's a natural drive within each one of us. Okay, the Gemara later on says, the rabbis taught, "V'nishmatem mikol davara," be careful from anything that is evil. Shelo yaharher adam b'yom v'yavel yedei tuma b'layla. So a person should not think about impure thoughts by day and then come to impurity of an emission by night. Okay, that's very similar to what we've seen. Mikan, Amar Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. From here, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair said in the most amazing thing. Now, just, stop for a second and think, what did we just say? We just said, be careful about what you think about in the day, because what you think about it in the day, you're going to come to meditate or dream about at night, and you never know what that could lead to. And in terms of the Gemara, it's talking about a seminal emission in one's dream, which the Talmud was against, didn't want people to do that. So it said, be careful about what you think at day, because it will affect you what comes at night. Now, what sort of a statement about people is that? You would say, wow, people are pretty rotten. What they think about, and then they meditate at night and they dream, it's pretty bad. But look at this. We can, from here, from this concept, says Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. Sorry, let me get to the Hebrew for all of us. From here, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair would say, Torah leads to care in the performance of mitzvot. Care leads to diligence in the observance. Diligence leads to cleanliness. Cleanliness leads to abstention. Abstention leads to purity. Purity leads to piety. Piety leads to humility. Humility leads to fear of sin. Fear of sin leads to holiness. Holiness leads to the divine spirit. The divine spirit leads to the resurrection of the dead. And piety is greater than all of them, as it stated, then did you speak in the vision of your pious ones. So, says Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, right, that this power that we have of association is actually the bedrock for spiritual growth. It could be very negative. It could lead to many bad things. What you see is what you think about. What you think about is what you dream about. Be careful. And says Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, but look on the positive. This is how a person develops. This is when we talk about growth, about becoming better people. This is how we become better people. through the positive associations that we make. When we learn Torah, so then we'll come to associate what happens in our life with the performance of mitzvot, right? We're going to, here we are learning about the Shema and all the commandments and blah, 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 Well, the more we learn, well, then we learned about it. The next time we see an opportunity for mitzvah, we will, of course, do it. We'll learn to care about the mitzvot. And the more we care about the mitzvot, the more diligent we'll become in their observance. And the more diligent, then we can keep on building. We can keep on developing or we could look at it from an organic point of view, these organic levels of holiness, of growth, will develop one after the other if we learn to associate properly. So, that in itself is just such a beautiful Gemara, because it's, it's saying, on the one hand, this could be a terrible thing that a person could go down, the path of association. You could land up in all sorts of places in your mind. But then again, you could land up in all sorts of good places. So like anything in life, we have the choice, And I think I would say there are two parts to this. One is to premeditate on it, meaning to be conscious about this and to lead our thoughts in a positive direction. So often we see people or things and we're critical. But what happens if we stopped ourselves and said, well, what happens? Let me try a positive view on things. Let me think positively about this person. What could be going on in their life that this led to? And how could I help them? And let your mind associate one thing after the other until you could do resurrection of the dead. You could resurrect them. You could help them come back to life. Say a word of inspiration. Be compassionate. Maybe they just need a listening ear, something like that. The Baal Shem Tov said that, when we are praying, because we pray from the Siddur, from a prayer book, and they're the same words all the time, it's hard to pay attention, and the mind wanders. So he said, when the mind wanders, don't be upset. Take yourself back and say, okay, well, I'm thinking about now that I got to pick up the laundry later, and I shouldn't forget, because if I forget today, I'm not going to have my suit for Shabbos, and that won't be nice. And then you find yourself, then you stop and you say, why am I thinking about the laundry? And says the Baal Shem Tov, go back in your thoughts till you get back to God. So you'll say, well, I'm thinking about the laundry. That's on my mind because I need my laundry for Shabbat. Why do I care about Shabbat? Oh, Shabbat is the mitzvah. What's it a mitzvah? To remember that God created the world. Oh, there's a God. Oh, I'm speaking to him, right? That's how we should use and recognize this power, this faculty that we have of association, and use it to benefit. Use it to benefit, to get back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. At the end of the day, how do we know God? We know God from his deeds, from the creation, from history. We know God from the Torah. We need to always associate back to God. We don't see him, we don't feel him. But when I see such a beautiful world, when I see these autumn flowers, who created such brilliance and such beauty? He must be great. That's an association, right? Okay, so that's what I think. The verse. There's a verse in. Let's just get rid of these pictures. There's a verse in Proverbs, we also say this every day. Rabot machshavot belev ish va'atzat Hashem yisaku. Which means there are many designs in a man's mind, many thoughts in a person's mind. Va'atzas Hashem yisaku. But it is the Lord's plan that is accomplished. And there are many commentaries on this. My commentary is our mind can associate in so many different ways, negatively, positively. Our mind can go so quickly. Try to find, sometimes you think about something, you brainstorm, got all these thoughts going through your mind. Try to become sensitive to the Atzas Hashem, to the plan of God in those thoughts. Try to ask yourself, okay, I'm seeing something. What's the plan of God? What does God want from me with this thought? Where should I take it? In which direction should I take it? And try to become sensitive to finding that thought among all your thoughts, which is the plan of God. He sakum, that's the one that should be accomplished. So I just want to end with the Sfas Emes. Sfas Emes was a great Hasidic rabbi. And getting back to tzitzis now. So, the tzitzis, at least the beginning few verses of the tzitzis, the way that we've understood them is they're all about association, right? Look at the tzitzis and remember the mitzvot. Well, that's an association because how do I remember all of the mitzvot by looking at the tzitzis? Now, honestly speaking, and I know my mother will agree with me, when I see a man walking down the street with his tzitzis hanging out, it looks untidy. It's a little unkempt. The tzitzis are loose. It's like a loose shoelace. When I see someone walking with a loose shoelace, it bothers me. Not only because it's dangerous, but because it looks unkempt. It's really untidy. I like to be tidy. You wouldn't believe it if I would take off my virtual background and you saw my study, but I do. I do love tidiness and order. The tzitzis are unorderly, right? They're very messy. And they're even messy because the way we wear them, sometimes, your one shirt gets pulled out because of the tzitzis. So the Sfas Emes, this great Hasidic rabbi, he was the Sfas Emes was I think the one of the second maybe the second Rebbe of the Ger Chassidus. I mean, he had millions of students. Unbelievable man. Apparently, he looked something like this. He died in 1905. So he said, well, the world is like the tzitzis. The world is somewhat completed. The knots, the orderly knots at the beginning of the tzitzis. It's neat, it's tidy, nature, harmony, the laws of physics, somewhat of a morality and rationality in this world. There's something here, but the rest is loose and it could go any way. And our job, why do we, what does it mean to look at the tzitzis and remember the mitzvot? He says, our job is to complete it. Our job is to take the strands and to knot them and to make them orderly so that they are all connected at the end of the day. How do we complete this world? how are we to bring this world to its perfection? That's what the mitzvot are. The mitzvot are, the word Torah means two things. The word Torah comes from the word Hoira, guidance, and the word Ora, light. It's the guidance on how to bring light into this world. The darkness of this world, we can shed. We have the power. And it's the power of the mitzvah. It's the power of living b'derech Hashem, in the way of God. So, that's just an unbelievable insight into I can look at a strand of tzitzis and see the entire meaning of life. I can look at these strings and say, wow, yes, some of it's tied together nicely, and the rest is loose. And that's up to us. That's up to me in my world to tie them together and to bring order to them and to everyone else's world. So that's really the mitzvah of tzitzis. And it's amazing to me that this plays a central role. This plays a central role in the Shema. We're meant to say this twice a day. We're meant to remember these concepts. We're meant to look at the tzitzis and remember this. The idea of associative thinking is prime to Jewish life. It's the way that we grow. It's the way that we develop. And we should nurture it, be conscious of it, nurture it, and use it to better the world around us. Questions, comments?
Yes, I have a question. Get back to the beautiful woman. Say the scenario of a single man and a single woman, right? And the single man the woman, single woman, has beautiful hair and she's uncovered it, obviously. Doesn't have to cover it up. She's single, and he's single. Then what happens about him? Say he looks away. What that situation by going up to and talking to her may create a marriage?
Well,
is it applied to?
No. So for the sake of,
it's just applied.
If someone is interested in marriage, and this is a potential marriage partner, so then that's okay. One should, obviously within reason, but in fact, the Talmud says that you're not allowed to marry a woman without seeing her. You must look at her. You must find her pleasing, because you're going to be married to her. And if you don't find her pleasing, you're going to land up with a not very happy marriage.
Fine.
Man must be able to look at a beautiful woman. There are many beautiful women out there, and he must be able to say she's a beautiful woman without thinking of marriage.
Why do you think that? Maybe all of that energy is meant to be put into one woman, one's wife, and to build a beautiful relation, a beautiful marriage and a family. There's definitely energy there. The question is what to do with it. So just to, let it out is a bit like the loose strings of the tzitzis. But to rein it in and to focus it, I think that would be a better use of that energy. I know that a lot of industry would crumble if they listen to this value. But it's a shame. Our Western liberal society has really done away with that, and I'm not sure it's to our benefit. I think there's a lot of objectification of women, which is very negative. Women are not there for sex. The women are women, and they get married to one and have sex with their wife, and leave the rest alone, and have a normal relationship. So I think that does need to be thought about. Okay, I need to go. Love
Excellent.
you very much.
Very
Thank
good
you.
class.
Thank you all. And
Like the way you gave us an exercise. Good.
good. Okay.